Hello everyone. In this video we will see teachers, what has been the most horrifying moment in your classroom. This video is brought to you by the Question Response channel, the channel where you will find the answer to everything. I thank Betsy Ann Dey, Ernest and Joshua Hammond for answering this question. We'll start with Betsy Ann Dey's first answer.
I'd been teaching about 4 years in a special school in a large urban district. My classroom was for students with moderate cognitive impairments, aged 11 to 15. We serviced students with multiple impairments, including the medically fragile, so we had a clinic with 3 full-time nurses. I didn't need to call on them often, but when I did, it was serious. It was an ordinary afternoon in spring and I was working with a small group when suddenly, Ernest stood up and started speaking complete gibberish. He was a very verbal kid, capable of expressing his needs and even some small talk. He was funny and bubbly. He had no history of illness, seizures, nothing. He was looking at me calmly as if he was holding a conversation, but speaking in a garbled, strangely monotone voice. I sent a coworker to get help right before he grabbed my arm, while continuing to make these sounds. He didn't understand me as he started to drool, and as the nurses arrived, he collapsed. Ernest was in the hospital for a week, and when he did return to school, it was only periodically. Those episodes increased in frequency and duration. He had some sort of degenerative brain disorder. His mother explained that portions of his brain seemed to be dying and didn't provide a cause or name of a disease. We watched him closely. By the end of the school year in June, he couldn't speak at all and was mostly non-responsive, but semed okay physically. He passed away in his sleep during summer break a few months later. It was horrifying to watch a 12-year-old decline and be totally helpless. He was one of 4 students from my school who died that summer.
What do you think? We will continue with Ernest's answer.
I was too naive to be afraid until later. I was teaching English to a class of 25 at a large language center in Bangkok. Métis, not his real name, was politely shunned by his classmates. They would do pair or group work with him, but otherwise, they left him alone. His dull, frizzy brown hair seemed out of place surrounded by the usual shiny, straight, black hair of his classmates. He was slight in build, not tall. His mouth was wide, and his lips were full over a small, weak chin. His most noticeable feature were his eyes. They protruded a bit and were more round than most Asian eyes. Most disconcerting, though, was that he rarely blinked. He would sometimes come to me after class with questions, and if I didn't have a next class, we would sit and talk, but never about anything other than English. His course finished, but a term later, he was waiting for me. He asked for help with another teacher's assignment. Later I spoke to the teacher, and he began to rant. That guy is so weird. Nobody likes him. He's bizarre. They shouldn't let him re-register. Yeah, no, if I didn't think he might do something crazy, I'd fail him so he would go away. I didn't see Métis very often after that. He had a few simple questions, but our chats were shorter because I had a full schedule. Almost a year later, he showed up, asking me to write down the words to an older love song. I didn't know the song, and this was pre-internet, so we went off to the language lab so I could transcribe his tape. We were the only 2 people there. He stood close by as I worked. Teacher, I wish I could sing this song for you. Métis, one day, you will sing it to your girlfriend. I smiled at him, but he just stared at me with his odd eyes. When I finished, I began straightening up the chairs at the other end of the lab. I felt his stare, looked up and gave a teacher smile. He said, I wish I had a girlfriend like you. You help me all the time. I smiled that teacher smile again, saying, my husband could tell you all the ways I am difficult. His face went dark, and for a moment, I felt in danger. He is a lucky man. You are a good person. You are always kind to me. Thank you. I never saw him again after that. Almost 2 years later, the colleague who had called him weird rushed into the teacher's lounge, waving a Thai newspaper. I told you he was crazy. Look at this. Look. Métis' photo was on the front page of a now-defunct tabloid newspaper, next to a gruesome picture of a murder-suicide scene. He had killed a woman for laughingly spurning him, and then he killed himself.
The next answer is from Joshua Hammond.
It didn't happen in my classroom, but at lunch. However, I and all the students in my next class were in that lunch period, so I think it counts. A student was arrested for felony assault of a police officer. I was leaving my office to go to my classroom to get ready for the next class, when I hear an assistant principal, we'll call her Mrs. F, yelling, walk away. Walk away. Walk away. Then I hear about 10 kids stand up, jump back, and yell, what the fuck? My first thought was that there was a gun. Then, after about 40 seconds of total confusion, I see try to run away. Of course he happens to run in my general direction. I hear one of the resource officers yell, stop him. I step in front of him, he seems freaked out, which apparently gave the resource officer enough time to catch up with him, because the next thing I knew, he was getting dragged away in handcuffs. From various accounts of what happened, I have managed to piece together a Frankenstein's monster of a sequence of events. The reason that the 10 kids jumped back and said, What the fuck? Was because E had picked up another kid and thrown him onto the ground and started fighting the kid's friends. The first resource officer and the other assistant principal ran over to hold E back and calm him down. The problem was that E is taller than me, I'm 6 feet 7 inches, and weighs, if I had to guess, 215 pounds, so he broke free and punched the resource officer in the face. That's the felony assault. After that, he tried to run away, and that's when I got involved. Needless to say, E will not be coming back to school anytime soon.
This is the end of the video, thank you for staying until the end. If this answer helps you, please help us too by leaving a like and subscribing to this channel. It allows us to move forward on YouTube. This is now the end of this video, remember to leave a comment to tell us if these answers resonate with you. Bye and see you soon.